April 9, 1940. Diary of a Danish Soldier, a cinematic long-form war story told by Private Lars Nielsen. My name is Lars Nielsen, private of the Royal Danish Army, 4th Infantry Regiment. On the evening of April 8, 1940, Denmark breathed peacefully in a way only small nations do, soft, unaware, and trusting. Copenhagen glowed like a postcard. Gas lamps flickered along Nyhavn, painting the canal in thin gold. Couples strolled between cafes, scarves wrapped against the cold spring wind. Fishermen tied their boats for the night, and restaurants clattered with silverware and muffled laughter. No one expected the next day to become the darkest date in modern Danish history. Even in the barracks, there was an odd sense of calm. Some soldiers cleaned their rifles lazily, others played cards. The radio hummed quietly in the corner with a program about spring planting, completely unaware that German divisions were already preparing engines. Across the border, rumors had floated for days. German troop movements in Schleswig, ships gathering in the Baltic. Whispers from intelligence officers, but they dissolved like mist whenever they reached us. Denmark was neutral. Denmark was peaceful. Denmark was small and harmless, or so we thought. My friend Skren, always the joker, clapped me on the shoulder and said, "If Germany attacks us, Lars, I swear I'll eat my own boots. What would they even want here? Our bikes? Our pigs?" We laughed. Maybe we laughed too loudly. Later that night, as the barracks lights dimmed, I stepped outside to breathe fresh air. The sky was unusually clear, a dark blue canvas with only a sliver of a moon. The wind carried the faint scent of the sea from Riesund, and in the distance Copenhagen shimmered like a line of fireflies. But beneath that beauty, something felt wrong. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was expectant, heavy, as if the entire country, without knowing why, was holding its breath. I wrapped my coat tighter and stared south toward the border. I thought I saw a faint reflection, just a flicker, like light bouncing off metal far, far away. I told myself it was nothing. If only I had trusted that instinct. For 15 a.m., April 9th, 1940, the explosion felt like the sky splitting open. Boom. Then again, boom, boom. The barracks shook violently. The metal frame of my bed jumped from the floor as dust rained from the ceiling. Shouts erupted from the hallway. "Alarm! This is not a drill. Move." Adrenaline flooded my veins. I pulled on my uniform with shaking hands, heart hammering so hard it felt like a punch to my ribs. Skren, eyes wide, stumbled beside me, his voice cracking. What was that? Was that bombs? We didn't have time to answer. We burst outside into the freezing dawn air, and the world I knew was gone. The western sky glowed orange, pulsing like a dying sun. Streaks of fire carved across the clouds, the distant horizon over Verlu's air. Base twisted with black smoke that rose in ugly columns. Then we heard it. A sound I will never forget, a mechanical roar, deep and monstrous, followed by the blood-curdling shriek of Stuka sirens, a sound designed not just to kill, but to break the soul. We lifted our eyes. German bombers, hundreds filled the sky. Junkers, Ru 88s, WW2 17s, Stukas diving like metal demons. The bombers moved in perfect formation, black crosses on their wings catching the dim morning light. Then they peeled off, one by one, screaming downward with terrifying precision. The ground trembled under our boots. Each explosion lit up the early morning like artificial lightning at Verlu's airbase. Our pilots were scrambling. I could see tiny specks. Fokker D.XX is trying to take off between bomb craters. One managed to lift a few meters into the air, and then a bomb struck the runway. The plane erupted into flames so bright I had to shield my eyes. A wave of heat washed over us, even from miles away. Someone beside me whispered, voice trembling, "God save us. They're invading." For the first time in my life, I felt what true fear was, not the kind you imagine as a child, but the kind that freezes the soul. Our radios crackled to life like a chorus of panic. German armor crossing the border, Hadeslev overwhelmed, Kolding and Vagel falling, no resistance. We stared at each other, stunned. Denmark had no tanks. Our army relied on bicycles and a handful of armored cars older than my father. Germany had divisions, full divisions of panzers, Panzer IS, and armored reconnaissance vehicles poured across Jutland, rolling over hastily placed barriers like they were children's toys. Border guards reported that German troops advanced by motorcycles, armored cars, troop carriers, and even bicycles for maximum speed. They swept north with terrifying efficiency, covering in minutes what should have taken hours. One officer near me muttered in disbelief, "This isn't an invasion. This is a storm, and storms do not wait." Around 5 a.m., a new sound emerged, not the roar of bombers, not the rumble of tanks, but a deep, droning hum. We looked up. A massive formation of Ru 52 transport planes drifted across the sky, like silver giants. My mouth went dry. Figures began dropping from the aircraft, small black dots that grew larger as they fell. Paratroopers. German Fallschirmjäger, dozens, then hundreds. Their parachutes blossomed like white flowers against the gray dawn, dotting the sky in unnatural beauty. But when they hit the ground, Their beauty turned to lethal purpose. They moved with chilling precision, securing key points almost immediately: Storström Bridge, Masnidu, Fort Getzer, harbor, communication hubs, government radio, buildings. We'd watched soldiers fall from the heavens like dark snow, quiet, silent, deadly. I had never imagined war could arrive from the sky itself. Everything Denmark trained for, everything we prepared, was instantly outdated. This was a new kind of war, a German war. 6 a.m. Luftwaffe platoon was deployed to hold the road leading toward Copenhagen. We knew it was hopeless. We knew we were outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched, but we also knew this: we were the last line left. We dragged barrels, carts, broken furniture, anything into the road to form a makeshift barricade. My fingers trembled violently as I loaded my Krag Jurgensen rifle. The fog thickened, swallowing the landscape in a cold gray haze. Then we heard it, a low, metallic growl. Engines. More than one, more than 10. A column of German armored vehicles emerged from the mist. Panzer Es, armored cars, motorcycles with sidecars. Their headlights flickered through the fog like predatory eyes. Our lieutenant crouched beside us and whispered, "Wait, wait, steady." Now we fired. The first volley cracked through the air. A motorcycle toppled. A German soldier slumped to the ground. An armored car swerved briefly, for a fleeting heartbeat. We thought, we can stop them. But then the rest of the column arrived. Machine guns roared. Bullets tore through branches overhead. Splinters rained onto our helmets like deadly hail. I saw Skrem, my friend, my brother-in-arms, jerk backward as a bullet pierced his chest. His rifle dropped from his hands. He fell silently, his body folding like a marionette whose strings had been cut. I screamed his name, but the sound was swallowed by gunfire. The fight lasted minutes. Then we were forced to retreat into the trees, stumbling over roots, slipping in mud, lungs burning, eyes stinging. Behind us, the Germans advanced without pause. Ahead of us, Copenhagen waited, unaware of how close death had come. By 6 a.m. Denmark was collapsing. The border, lost the bridges, captured the airfields, bombed or seized the ports, under German control. The roads, flooded with panzer, communications, in German hands. Then came the message that froze every drop of blood in my body: Luftwaffe threatens to bomb Copenhagen if resistance continues. Silence. Absolute silence. We all knew what German bombings meant. We'd seen newsreels of Warsaw turn to rubble. We'd heard reports of civilian death tolls in Poland. We'd listened to the radio tell the world how Rotterdam had been nearly erased if Copenhagen burned. It would not be soldiers who died, it would be children, families, our parents, our homes. King Christianix faced an impossible choice: fight, and let the capital be destroyed, or surrender, and save the people. He chose his people. 6:30 a.m. The order, the radio crackled with static, then delivered the words that shattered the nation: all units, ceasefire. Denmark has surrendered. Lay down your weapons. My knees buckled. I collapsed onto cold pavement, gripping my rifle like it was part of my body, like dropping it would mean losing the last piece of myself. Tears blurred my vision. Not tears of fear, tears of helplessness. All our training, our oaths, our hopes for defending the fatherland, gone in less than a single morning. A young soldier next to me whispered, "Is this?" "It is Denmark." Gone. I had no answer, because at that moment I didn't know either. By 8 a.m. German troops marched into Copenhagen. Their boots clicked sharply on cobblestone, echoing off buildings that had stood for centuries. Their tanks rolled past bakeries where the smell of fresh bread still lingered. Their trucks rumbled by stunned civilians watching from behind curtains and shutters. Some citizens cried, some cursed under their breath, some simply stood frozen, holding their children close. The German soldiers weren't cruel that morning. They weren't violent. They weren't mocking. Perhaps that made it worse. A German officer approached us. He looked young, no older than me. His face was unreadable. In heavy accented Danish, he said, "You fought bravely, but it is over." I hated him for saying it. I hated him because he was right. I hated him because there was nothing else we could do. We were defeated, not because we lacked courage, but because we lacked time. The invasion of Denmark lasted only 6 hours, one of the shortest military campaigns in history, but from MIT felt like a lifetime. I remember the orange glow of the sky, the scream of Stuka sirens, the white blossoms of parachutes drifting in the dawn, the crash of bombs, Skren collapsing beside me, the bitter metallic taste of fear in my mouth, the tremble in my hands as I lowered my rifle, the chilling silence when the radio declared our surrender. Germany won that day, but Denmark survived, not by pride but by protecting its people. And I, a simple soldier who fired only a handful of bullets, carried that morning inside me forever. When I close my eyes, I still hear the echo. April 9th, 1940, the day the sky broke.